Greetings from the Mary Mother of the Redeemer Bereavement Ministry. My name is Mary Coakley. I want to talk today about supporting your loved ones who are grieving. It's really not easy to know what to do or say when someone loses someone they love. You don't want to hurt them by saying the wrong thing. You think maybe I shouldn't say anything because I don't want to open up an old wound. These thoughts might lead you to postpone addressing the loss. And once some time has passed, you might feel it's too late. If you yourself have suffered a loss, you know that people are not saying anything can sometimes be worse than people saying the wrong thing. People can end up feeling abandoned or unimportant when you avoid your grieving friend or relative for fear of saying the wrong thing. So here are some thoughts on how you can support someone who has suffered a loss. First, be sure to reach out in a timely manner as soon as you hear the news. In-person or phone call feels the most personal and intimate, but if you can't do that due to logistical reasons or even awkward feelings, a written message is a great substitute. Second, simply saying, "I'm sorry to hear the news," is always a great way to start. Ask questions to let your friend or family member know that you're willing to listen, since that is the best thing you can do. Listen. Open-ended questions such as, "What happened?" or "What have these past few days been like for you?" can get the conversation flowing. You can look for cues that the person wants to talk or doesn't want to talk, and follow those cues. Just remember that many people feel the need to tell the story over and over again, sometimes in minute detail. So be patient. Repeating the story is a way of processing and accepting the death. With each retelling, the pain lessens. By listening patiently and compassionately, you're helping your loved one heal. Third, if you knew the person who died, speak their name and share something about them, such as a fond memory or what you liked or admired about them. These thoughts are like precious jewels for the grieving person. It lets them know that their loved one's life mattered and that they won't be forgotten. Fourth, know that there are many stages and phases of grief and that they're all okay. Your friend or family member might be overwhelmingly sad one day, angry the next, and guilty the following. Your job is not to talk them out of these feelings, but to simply be there as they experience them. Fifth, offer practical assistance. It's easy to say, "Oh, let me know if there's something I can do," which most people don't respond to. It's so much better to offer something you really are willing to do. Maybe you can pick up groceries or make some dinners. Maybe you have financial or legal expertise and you can offer to help sift through insurance forms and bills. Or maybe you can even offer to find and accompany them to support groups, or to do a recurring social activity with them. This is especially important for older folks who have lost their spouses. They often feel the most isolated and lonely after the death and would really appreciate a monthly lunch date or an offer to get them going with a new hobby, such as pickleball at the community center, or an adult painting class at the local college. Most of all, it is important to not forget that your friend or family member will continue to need your support going forward. With your own busy life, you may accidentally lose track of your friend and how they're doing. I would suggest putting a note in your calendar about once a month to check in on them, to see how they're doing, and to let them know you still think about their loved one from time to time, and to offer any help that might be needed. I would especially recommend marking your calendar for the first anniversary of the death. That's a really important date for those who grieve, and it means so much to them to know that others are in solidarity with them in remembering that date. I want to say a word about depression. It's common for a grieving person to feel depressed, confused, disconnected from others, or even like they're going crazy. But if the bereaved person's symptoms don't gradually start to fade, or they get worse over time, this may be a sign that normal grief has evolved into a more serious problem, such as clinical depression. Encourage the person to seek professional help if you observe any of the following warning signs after the initial grieving period, especially if it's been over 2 or 3 months since the death. Things such as difficulty functioning in daily life, not getting up, not getting dressed, not feeding themselves. Extreme focus on the death. Excessive angerness, bitterness, or guilt. Neglecting personal hygiene. Alcohol or drug abuse. Inability to enjoy life. Hallucinations. Withdrawing from others. Constant feelings of hopelessness or talking about dying or suicide. It can be tricky to bring up these concerns to the bereaved person, as you don't want to be perceived as invasive. Instead of telling the person what to do, try stating your feelings like, "I'm troubled by the fact that you aren't sleeping. Perhaps you should look into getting some help." There are no right or wrong ways to grieve. Everyone grieves differently, and this should be respected. There's also no set timetable for grieving. For many people, recovery after bereavement takes 18 to 24 months, but for others, the grieving process may be longer or shorter. Don't pressure your loved one to move on or make them feel like they've been grieving too long. This can actually slow down the process. The most important thing you can do for a grieving person is simply be there. It's your support and caring presence that will help your loved one cope with the pain and gradually begin to heal.